OMG, weaver ants are literal savages. Today we take an exploratory peek into the lives of ants that live in my yard, that I've discovered to be the top ants of the ecosystem of my area. They hunt, kill, and take home to their incredible leaf basket nests in the trees a ton of different insects and random edibles to eat, and thereby grow their massive ant colonies even larger. Today we're going to be seeing all the crazy and different things the weaver ants manage to catch and kill in my yard. But perhaps the most shocking kills I managed to spot them taking home to feast on are members of one of the most dreaded insect armies of my entire yard, fire ants. Welcome everyone to the Great Antopian War, here on the AntsCanada Ant Channel. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Welcome to the AC family. Enjoy. Welcome everyone to Antopia, the name given to our almost 3,000 square meter plot of tropical land on which we are building the Great Ant House, a home for all our future ant colonies and beasts on this channel. But today I wanted to focus mainly on one ant colony, or species of ants rather, that exists in my yard that I've come to learn is on top of the food chain as far as insects go. I'll be showing you the items on their preferred menu, some of which will shock you. Things I've been feeding them to support them, their world-famous leaf nests, which give them their name, and of course, the thing I'm sure all of you are here to witness, the weaver ants tearing into the invasive fire ant colonies of my yard. All that and more is coming up. But before we get into the savagery that is weaver ant life, let's first get into why I love that the weaver ants are killing and eating the fire ants. If you've been following the channel, you already know that we've recently discovered that Antopia here is the site of a huge, epic, natural battle of wild ant colonies. Various armies of different ant species are scattered throughout the territories, all attempting to claim victory over the land. Some of the ant colonies have created peaceful truces with other ant colonies, but most of them are in war mode with each other. Now, over the past several weeks, I've been busy carefully mapping out all the ant colonies and ant nests I spot in the yard, and I have found there to essentially be two major teams of ants at war. Team native ants, i.e., the ants who have lived in Antopia for millions of years and are endemic to the area, and Team invasive ants, i.e., the ant newcomers who've been introduced to these lands by way of human activities and seek to outcompete, displace, and or kill the native ants. Now, the reason I love that the weaver ants are killing the fire ants in my yard is because weaver ants are from Team natives, while fire ants belong to Team invasives. Invasive species can totally destroy the delicate balance of an ecosystem, and we've already seen how fire ants have been killing and devouring local wildlife. What's even scarier is right now happens to be the season new fire ant colonies emerge from their underground month-long claustral chambers. The first generation of fire ants, born from queens which had their mating nuptial flights late last year. The fire ant colonies of Antopia are proliferating and happen to be the most powerful and fearsome ant armies of Team invasives. So needless to say, I was happy and grateful to know that Antopia, likewise, had an equally powerful force belonging to Team natives, who had what it took to drive out or even eradicate these fire ant invaders, the weaver ants. So let's now take a moment to meet these savage weaver ant warriors of Team natives, shall we? You guys will truly love the weaver ants of Antopia. And AC family, while watching them, help me think of an official name for them and leave your suggestions in the comments. Asian weaver ants, also known as Ecophila smaragdina, get their name from their nests. Here's one of the many weaver ant nests in the area. Unlike most regular ants that build their nests in the ground, weaver ants construct their nests up in the trees or in bushes, as you can see here in this pomelo tree. Every tree and bush in Antopia is home to at least one of these weaver ant hanging basket nests. They're marvelous constructions. Check them out. So weaver ant nests are essentially the leaves of the tree or shrub, which are all pulled in and glued together using the silk produced by their larvae. It's truly an amazing process, and we've seen weaver ants build these leaf nests back when we had a colony of weaver ants, known as the Emerald Empire. If you haven't watched the Emerald Empire series, be sure to watch their story here after watching this video. Sadly, I had to release them back into the wild last year due to lockdown, making it hard to meet their very demanding needs in a captive setup. So the brilliance of these leaf nests is that once the silk walls that stick the leaves of the weaver ant nests together solidify, these leaf basket nests become weatherproof, being able to withstand typhoons as well as the scorching heat of the sun. The leaves remain alive for a few weeks once incorporated into these leaf basket nests, so they are still constantly absorbing carbon dioxide produced by the ants and releasing fresh, invigorating oxygen through photosynthesis, as well as humidity through transpiration. Each basket nest maintains the perfect conditions for the colony's brood, the workers, and their multiple queens. As we've seen with the Emerald Empire, the queens, which are absolutely massive ants, can come in a variety of colors, ranging from yellowish to brown, to lime green, to even blue-green. They are truly some of the most gorgeous ants I've ever seen and owned. The weaver ant colonies get absolutely massive, which of course means they eat a lot. So now we see, family, here's where you get to see all the random and crazy things I watched one of the weaver ant colonies in Antopia take home to their nests to feast on. So I sat and watched an active swarm of weaver ants located here on the Antopian map to document everything the ants took up to their nests in the acacia tree. Check out all the interesting things they captured and took home to eat. First, check out this black cricket they seized and killed. It seems they've managed to dismember it, pulling off several of its legs. But I did see the cricket still slightly breathing. This young cricket was still alive as the weaver ants carried it up their tree. Weaver ants don't have stingers, but they do have formic acid, which they spray at their enemies or prey. And this is enough to kill or at least immobilize most insects caught within their clutches. Another way which weaver ants subdue their prey is by grabbing it from all ends and appendages and stretching their prey to death. There was just no way a prey insect would be able to wriggle free from a team of weaver ants grabbing it from all sides, transporting it to the nest. I mean, we're talking mandibles and legs strong enough to pull giant leaves of a tree together and hold them in unnatural positions for hours until the larval silk is strung between them. Weaver ants are undoubtedly some of the strongest ants in the entire world. Also, I spotted the weaver ants carrying this dead cockroach. This roach was not moving, so it's hard to determine whether the weaver ants caught this roach and killed it or scavenged it and simply picked up the dead carcass from somewhere. Now, I was shocked when I saw the weaver ants had captured a huge queen elate of a black species of ant I'm not too sure of. Check it out. See her wings? The queen elate is actually still alive, as you can see her moving her legs. And check it out, you can actually see her stinger retracting desperately to defend herself during these final fateful moments. Now this queen elate was surely captured and sprayed with acid. She must have had her nuptial flight recently, and probably even mated. But unlucky for her, she fell victim to the weaver ants, and won't be founding a new colony now. She's on her way to dying, and the weaver ants are willing to wait. I find weaver ants prefer holding large, dangerous prey, like this stinging black queen elate, in place until it stops struggling. Carrying her up further while she's still capable of stinging the weaver ants could be a deadly mistake. It's a sign they understand that transporting her up the tree right now would be risky and not worth it. These weaver ants were in no rush, and to me this was a clear display of how intelligent they were as well. Speaking of stinging, I also spotted the ants carrying a dead bee up the tree. Could this be a drone that had mated, was on the way to dying, and was too weak to fly away from the weaver swarm? That's my guess. Now, though it seems all unfortunate insects that fell within the weaver ants' paths were as good as dead, there were, however, some insects that the weavers did not bother touching. AC family, meet this caterpillar. With its colorful array of bristly urticating hair, it strided up the acacia tree of the weaver ants, confident that it wouldn't be touched. In the natural world, and especially true with insects, it's an understood rule that if you have bright colors, it usually means trouble. It's called aposematic coloration, and most predators know to stay clear of the brightly colored prey. In this case, the urticating hair probably break off and can be irritating for predatory animals. The weaver ants would probably have a hard time gripping pivotal areas of this hairy caterpillar's body, so both insects stay out of each other's way. Now, protein isn't the only food these weaver ants eat. They also have a sugar tooth. We've seen before on this channel that weaver ants love to milk the plant insects that inhabit the trees they nest in of their sweet secretions called honeydew. Most trees host a huge array of plant insects, from mealybugs to scale insects to aphids, who feed from the sap of the trees, then excrete the sweet honeydew, which the weaver ants cherish. Now check this out, AC family. I also felt the need to support the weaver ants by giving them some sweet jelly cups that I usually feed to my ants at home. Check out this weaver ant as she drinks from the jelly. You can actually see the internal mechanism in her throat powering her sucking action. How cool is that? Have you ever seen an ant drink like this? It's like we've got X-ray vision. Watching her drink from the jelly was somehow quite gratifying and relaxing. Now, one of the strangest things I saw the weaver ants taking up to their nest was this strange greenish black stuff. Can you guys guess what this is? Turns out, weavers will even collect and feed from fresh bird poop. That's right, they eat bird droppings. Guess one animal's waste is another animal's food. I even spotted a green ant with its social stomach completely filled with green bird poop, which you could see through its body. Kinda gross, but cool, but still gross. But now, guys, to show you what you've all been waiting for. It turns out the weaver ants were out on a hunt for one particularly favored morsel that surprisingly the weaver ants are crazy for. I managed to catch sight of weaver ants clearly actively hunting for fire ants. As mentioned, at this time of the year, the new first generation of fire ant workers are emerging from the soils for the first time with the sole mission to find food for their starving queen mothers, who hadn't eaten once since late last year, since after mating these queens went underground to raise this first generation of workers. And so for these weaver ants, it meant that it was now their annual fire ant hunting season. As we saw last year at this time, the first generation of fire ant workers, also known as nanitics, aren't exactly the toughest ants. In fact, they're smaller, weaker, aren't as sting happy, and are kind of scaredy cats. This means that every time at this year, the weaver ants have a blast picking off these fire ant nanitics one by one. AC family, let's take the time now to watch these weaver ants hunt and seize their fire ant nanitics. Warning though, if you're a fire ant lover, these scenes may be triggering. Wasn't that crazy, guys? At one point, I caught a fire ant locked tightly around a weaver ant's antenna. Okay, so 1 point for the fire ants because of this brave little one. I also believe the weaver ants had totally annihilated a started fire ant nest that had the misfortune of starting at the foot of the weaver ant tree. Talk about fire anting up the wrong tree. Bad pun. But though this was kind of a fire ant bloodbath, it was assuring to know that in killing and eliminating these fire ant nanitics, the weaver ants were in turn keeping the fire ant populations in Antopia down. These pioneering nanitics are their queens' lifelines to success, and the survival of their colonies depends solely on whether or not the nanitics are able to find a first meal. If these nanitics were successful at finding food and bringing it back to their queens, that would be all it would require for the fire ant queens to begin the literal egg-laying explosion process of brood. You guys saw last year, back when we were raising the Phoenix Empire, how quickly they proceeded from a tiny colony of nanitics to a massive colony of millions in just a few short months. It was absolutely critical for these weaver ants, the most powerful ants of Team Natives, to kill off as many of these pioneering fire ant nanitics as possible. It was literally a serious matter of life or death of everyone in Antopia. So AC family, now that we've seen and learned all that we have today, I was thinking that perhaps we could give the entire population of weaver ants in Antopia an official name. This is the very first time on the channel we've ever named a wild ant colony, and actually the first time we've also ever given a name to an entire wild population of an ant species in an area. And so I find this super exciting. So guys, leave your name suggestions for Antopia's weaver ants in the comments, and I'll go through all of them along with your AC Senate and select my top 5 favorites that all of us can vote on in a future video. Be sure to think carefully for a suitable name, guys, and do feel free to like your favorite name suggestions so they get bumped up for the AC Senate and I to see. The AC Senate, by the way, guys, are a special team of channel supporters that have special rights, inside information, and perks on this channel. You'll see who the AC Senate members are among you in the comments, as they sport badges with various colors next to their names. Do be sure to greet and honor these highly dignified members of the AC family. A simple bow would do. You can click here to learn more about joining the great AC Senate. And so, as we've seen over the past several videos, Exploring this vast and complex world we call Antopia, the plot thickens, wars are fought, and new epic stories of nature come to play right before our inquiring eyes. I feel these great weaver ants will continue to do their excellent work at hunting and controlling insect populations, including that of the highly invasive fire ant colonies of Antopia that possess the power to completely destroy its precious ecosystem. It's also why I'm so glad that back when we were still drawing up the plans for the ant house construction with our architect 2 years ago, I made sure that we would save the towering old growth trees growing everywhere on the property and simply build the ant house around these trees. Could you imagine if we hadn't and all the trees in the area were clear cut? This would have destroyed weaver ant nests, driving them out of the area and thereby tipped the scale of power into the hands of the fire ant populations of Antopia. There would be no predators to hunt down the fire ant nanitics emerging right now at this time of the year, which would give these nanitics the freedom to find food for their respective queens, waiting for them in their burrows, thereby amassing millions upon millions of fire ants for an Antopian fire ant takeover. An event which would be a literal death spell to all of Antopia's life. It's also why I plan on planting a ton more trees and shrubs in the area, so we can encourage more of these awesome weaver ant colonies to move in and give them more nesting sites so they can act as Antopia's official guardians against the destructive fire ant invaders and truly take their throne as the longtime native rulers of the land. Until our next epic visit to these lush tropical lands of Antopia, thank you for watching and supporting the ants. It's Ant Love forever. Hope you can subscribe to the channel as we upload every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video to help us keep making more. In this week's AC Question of the Week, we ask, name one item on a weaver ant's menu.